Last night, a judge has ordered the corporate death penalty for Donald Trump's businesses. A New York judge ordered the Trump organization be dissolved. It is one of the most shocking stories we have seen yet, and it is comparable in many ways to the prosecution and persecution that we've seen so far of Trump, his family, and others who support him. And it's only just begun. Business Insider reports Trump's corporate death penalty explained. Veteran Manhattan fraud prosecutors describe what's next. So here's what happens. A lawsuit is filed accusing Trump of fraud. A judge says, we do not need to have a trial, bangs the gavel and orders Trump's companies be destroyed. As a component of this, the judge also presumably lies about the value of other existing Trump family properties, notably Mar-a-Lago, claiming that beach to beach, 18 acres in Palm Beach is worth only $18 million. It's shockingly insane. Now, Eric Trump, I believe, came out and said, this is nonsense. It's got to be worth close to $1 billion. He's correct. And you've got the likes of Kyle Kulinski issuing some of the most shocking and terrifying statements I've seen coming from a liberal or leftist. And look, man, I like Kyle. We've defended him in the past as a good dude, but the statements he's made pertaining to this are shockingly ignorant and dangerously authoritarian. And this is what we are up against right now. The celebration of rule by decree, a summary judgment against the Trump family. No trial. Why? Well, because Kyle says that the AG held a press conference. That's sufficient for him. And if you don't know what she said in her press conference, well, then you're wrong. The government issuing a public accusation does not warrant summary judgment. End of story. Whatever it is Trump is accused of doing, and I'm sure Trump is no saint, a trial must be had. For a judge to have a summary judgment, no trial, and destroy what is presumably a billion-dollar company while claiming it's not. We are beyond Banana Republic. I'm sorry, we're beyond Banana Republic. A lot of people last night, Carl Benjamin, Sargon, he's saying you're in a Banana Republic, and perhaps. But this is, I don't know what you'd want to call it. This is fifth generational warfare. This is destruction. This is war. Look, a lot of people have the perspective that war literally just defines hot conflict, but there is Cold War. There are other means of destruction. There's sabotage, manipulation, hacking, espionage, etc. What we are witnessing right now in New York is corporate death penalty without trial. Corporate death penalty sounds shocking, but this is it. The judge said the Trump organization no longer exists, destroying it and everything they do. Let me break this down for you. And I think I'd like to pull up the New York Times here. This one's probably the most important. Judge rules Trump committed fraud, stripping control of key properties. The decision in a lawsuit that could go to trial next week is a major win for Attorney General Letitia James, who says former President Donald J. Trump overvalued his holdings by as much as $2.2 billion. Now, what's happening here is, to clarify, there was a summary judgment dissolving the Trump organization as well as many other companies, even holdings for property, without a trial. There are other claims still made against Trump, which will be going to trial. It is presumed there could be a trial, but this judge might just bang the gavel again. Take a look at this. The New York Times reporting. A New York judge ruled on Tuesday that Donald J. Trump persistently committed fraud by inflating the value of his assets and stripped the former president of control over some of his signature New York properties. The surprising decision by Justice Arthur F. Engoron is a major victory for Attorney General Letitia James in her lawsuit against Mr. Trump, effectively deciding that no trial was needed to determine that he had fraudulently secured favorable terms on loans and insurance deals. Now, you may be wondering, wow, did Trump really do this? Well, NBC News, I believe it might be NBC News, that breaks down what the defense would have claimed had there been a trial. They say, at one point, Engoron pointed to Trump's having exaggerated the size of his New York apartment to pump up its value, repeatedly claiming it was over 30,000 feet when it was a third of that size. Well, interesting. The problem is a summary judgment does not give us the opportunity to counter or hear what it is that Trump actually did. That is to say, this is how the media operates. If Donald Trump says in his tax filing or something that the property is 10,000 total square feet, 10,000 of it is livable and can be restructured, and 10,000 of it can be considered storage, depending on how you operate. They then say, he called it 30,000 feet. Now, I'm not saying that's what Trump did. I'm saying there's no defense. I don't believe that that Trump outright was like, my 10,000 square foot apartment's actually 30,000. I don't believe him. Sorry. That's the point of a trial. The government does not get to just decree these things. Is it possible Trump did? Sure, absolutely. Thank you for your accusation. In a normal country, we would then have a trial and say, Trump, is this true? Did you do this? Tell me. And apparently, we don't get that. A discrepancy of this magnitude by a real estate developer sizing up his own living space of decades can only be considered fraud. This is a subject that came up before when the suit first began, and they said that the square footage was different. What we're seeing here is Letitia James exploiting the ignorance of the public and people like Kyle Kulinski. I'm not trying to be a dick to Kyle, but Kyle, you have crossed the line in a dangerously psychotic way, and you are the example here. Not understanding real estate and using that ignorance and justifying government rule by decree. I'm sorry, that's authoritarianism. That's fascism, whatever you want to call it. No, just because my answer is like right away when I see this, I'm like, wow, well, what exactly did he do? Because I don't quite understand how these filings work and what was Trump's argument, because certainly he has defense lawyers. Oh, there's no trial. Okay, well, now I don't trust you. You're lying to me. They say he found Trump, his sons, Don Jr. and Eric, and their companies liable for fraud, but not criminally. It's a civil case with no trial. They're lying. He also denied Trump's motion for a summary judgment that argued New York Attorney General Letitia James' lawsuit should be dismissed. Engoron sanctioned Trump's attorneys $7,500 apiece for making legal arguments that had already been rejected twice. Wow. While the New York-based LLCs will need to be dissolved, it will be up to the receiver, blah, 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 blah. Trump issued a statement. I'm wondering if they actually, here, let's read more. While the full impact of the decision remains unclear, what is clear is President Trump and his family will seek all available appellate remedies to rectify the miscarriage of justice. Another Trump attorney, Alina Habba, well, actually, Trump's lead attorney in the case, Christopher Kise, called the ruling outrageous and said it was completely disconnected from the facts and governing law. He said that Engoron had disregarded the viewpoint of those actually involved in the loan transactions who testified there was nothing misleading, there was no fraud, and the transactions were all highly profitable. This is to say, the people who were involved testified there is no fraud here. And the judge, this is likely why he said no trial, none. Because what would happen? Experts would come in and be like, Your Honor, this is fine. This is normal. Something's weird, isn't it? Another attorney, Alina Habba, focused on Engoron's determination that Mar-a-Lago had been grossly overvalued. Oh boy, I love this one. Engoron noted that from 2011 to 2021, the Palm Beach County assessor appraised the market value of Mar-a-Lago at $18 million to $27.6 million. Trump's financial statements, meanwhile, put the club's value at almost $427 million to $612 million. So if a Palm Beach County assessor makes it an evaluation of the property, that has nothing to do with what Trump thinks the property is worth or could sell for, and then it declares his valuation. You do not evaluate your property because of what the tax assessor says. Otherwise, I got to tell you, my friends, I have been defrauded so many times. Here's what happens. I buy a lot of property, right? We buy properties, we're building things. Good luck going to someone selling real estate. They got a building for sale. Let's say it's 2,000 square feet and they say the tax assessment is $100,000. I go, all right, I'll give you $100,000 for it. You know what they'll say? No. Have a nice day. And I'm like, but the tax assessor said it's worth that. You have to sell it for that. No, you don't. It is worth whatever you think it's worth, regardless of what the government says it's worth. And you can buy property that is sold for a higher price than the tax assessment. Then the assessor can come in and determine if what you got was the right price. I can say, I think my property is worth this for these reasons. Here's the objective standards. And the tax assessor can be like, yeah, not interested. This is what it's worth. That's not fraud. This is crazy. Otherwise, every real estate transaction in the country is fraud. You buy a piece of property, its property value goes up, but it's assessed at 100 grand. And then a year later, it's now worth 250. You sell it for 250. Oh, we got you. We got you. That was fraud. That's insane. Let's read more. She said the judge's findings, including one that Mar-a-Lago is worth approximately $20 million, is an affront to our legal system. In a tweet, Eric Trump said after the ruling that he had lost all faith in the New York legal system. We have run an exceptional company, never missing a loan payment, making banks hundreds of millions of dollars, developing some of the most iconic assets in the world. Yet today, the persecution of our family continues. I'll break it down for you. I'm really excited for this. Really excited for this. Here's a tweet from Kyle Kulinski. First, Kyle, I believe, as a high-profile, prominent public speaker of the left, he's gone insane. I don't know. I've listened to him before. I've considered him to be reasonable, but this is the most insane thing I've ever heard, these series of tweets. First, he says the original press conference from the New York Attorney General laying out the details of the fraud case against Trump was overwhelming. Anybody who thinks this is a witch hunt is either totally ignorant to the facts, lying, or has full cult brain. Kyle, you're in a cult. The government has no authority to issue a press conference and then a judge have a summary judgment that just strips multiple corporate entities of their existence. This is an insane level of corruption. You want to argue that there's evidence against Trump? I'm not saying there isn't. By all means, Trump ain't no saint. Businesses play dirty politics and they file fanciful numbers all the time. Take a look at Hollywood. Multi-billion-dollar films that somehow made no money. That's the norm. Why? It's loopholes. The business is formed, it makes the movie, and then all the profits are sent out, and then the company goes, yeah, we didn't make any money. We owed everybody else, so we're negative. Tax deductions. Call it corruption. By all means, please do so. These things exist. They are bad things, and I think people should be held accountable for this. My issue is, the argument from Kyle is that if the government issues a press conference, we're done. Shut them down. Sorry, that's insane and terrifying precedent. But there's more. Mark Levin showing Donald Trump's statement as to what's going on. He said, unbelievable. America has never experienced this kind of Stalinism that Trump is contending with. It's unconscionable. Conscionable. He says, you effing idiots refuse to make actual arguments based on the facts of the case because you know you can't. Nobody is forcing you to say stupid ish like this. Just say nothing. I'm sorry, dude. Kyle's lost the plot. I will make substantive arguments against you, Kyle, because this is insane. First, my point is of a moral and legal standard by which, yet we have trials, okay? At the very least, they should have allowed Trump's defense attorneys to issue these arguments in court. Now, I know the argument is that they already made these arguments and the judge rejected them. Then humor me for one moment. If you're going to make an extremely high-profile move against someone like Donald Trump, you need there to be a proceeding, lest you rip this country in twain. However, I can give you a substantive argument as to why the judge is lying and wrong, and so are you. Let's argue the facts. As I already pointed out, the key here is that the judge said no trial was needed. The judge also said that Mar-a-Lago is worth $20 million. A lie. I can prove it. Eric Trump says, in an attempt to destroy my father and kick him out of New York, a judge just ruled that Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida is only worth an approximate $18 million. Mar-a-Lago is speculated to be worth well over $1 billion, making it arguably the most valuable residential property in the country. It is also corrupt and coordinated. Now, hold on there a minute. He calls it a residential property. Perhaps it is. It also does have a commercial component. So I do believe there's going to be commercial zoning related to Mar-a-Lago, but we'll see. If he's calling it residential, then I have questions about what they offer in terms of businesses. But sure, you can rent your house out. I don't know what Palm Beach requires in terms of you using your residence for dining, clubs, weddings, etc. Perhaps it's no big deal. People, I think even if you're doing Airbnb and stuff, you're turning your residential property into a commercial property, but probably not. So people can file these things. Let's just call it residential for the sake of argument. Kyle Kulinski says, Mar-a-Lago gets revenue of $25 million per year. It's valued at a max 75 million. You idiots claim it's worth 739 million. You did this with virtually all of your properties to inflate net worth and get loans from banks on more favorable terms. Fraud. Not true. The evaluation, according to the news report, was between, I think, around 400 to 600. I think I have it here from Newsweek. So let me, Kyle's wrong. Trump had put the valuation of Mar-a-Lago at 426.5 million to 612.1 million in filings, which they said was an overvaluation of at least 2,300%. First, Kyle, your number's wrong. Flat out. I don't know where he gets this number from. This tweet really, really infuriates me as somebody who's run a business, who has run a startup that's received investor cash and was given a kooky tech evaluation. As someone who has dealt with this for 15 years plus, first, I am not the foremost leading expert on this, but I can simplify it for you. Before we get into the true value of Mar-a-Lago, let me just take Kyle's statement at face value. $739 million based on what he's saying at $25 million a year is a perfectly adequate evaluation based on revenue. First question I have for you. Kyle Klinsky is saying, if it makes $25 million a year, it must be only worth $75 million. Holy crap. Okay. First, let's not include the fact that it's a 17-acre or 17.5-acre property, beachfront to beachfront, and remove the hard asset from the revenue. Let's just ignore the real estate itself, Kyle, and talk purely revenue. Okay, first of all, a business evaluation does not just include revenue and speculation. It includes your hard assets. The value of Mar-a-Lago as real estate, substantial. But let's just pause right there. Okay, let's operate under the assumption of Kyle's pure ignorance. Pure ignorance. And I hope Kyle sees this. If you make $25 million per year and someone comes to you and says, I will buy your company off of you for $75 million. Do you know what every single person would say? No. Why? If you're generating $25 million a year, why would you sell your business for 2 more years up front when you could literally just sit back and let the revenue come in? Now, the argument could be 75 million in your cash, 25 million as revenue, not pure profit. But let's say that operating costs for let's say their margins are 50%. And so we're talking about 12.5 million in profit every year off the property. Let's just say that revenue. Someone comes to you and says, I'll offer you, let's say 4 years or 6 years, 4 years up front of profits. You know what my response is? What can I do with the extra 50 million right now that I could not do over the period of 2 years? Nothing. This is the issue with evaluations. This is why you might do a 10x evaluation based on revenue, because what is reasonable to a person? Someone comes to me and they say, we see how much money Timcast makes. We see how much money you make, Tim. Sell the company to us. My response is, if you give me 2 years up front, why would I take that when I can just keep doing my thing and I'm making the money myself? You need to pay me more than I'm already getting. So giving someone 2 years up front when they could sit back and just let the revenue pour in makes no sense. Understand this. Cost of living for the average person, no matter how wealthy, is literally never high as like, I imagine Trump spent several $1 million on his comforts and luxuries per year, or maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe even 50, who knows? But based on the net worth of his companies and how much money is coming in, I think it's 500 million or something. So he's living off 10%. I'm sorry, dude. You come to me and say, you'll give me 75 million for a $25 million per year business, not including the hard assets. Kyle, let's now include the hard asset so I can break down the absurdity and ignorance and despotic authoritarianism of your statements. What is Mar-a-Lago really worth? Based on $25 million in revenue, I would say you're going to have to give me 10 years up front. So I would say 250 million. Why? Otherwise, I'll just sit back You've got to pay me more than it's already worth. 10 years up front for someone in their 70s, actually not a bad play. However, he has kids. He's already a billionaire. They're arguing he's not. He's super wealthy, has multiple jets. He doesn't need to sell it. This means that you have to pay a premium to buy it. But let's not talk about Trump's desires. Let's talk about hard facts. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zillow. Zillow has it currently listed as an evaluation of $24.2 million for Mar-a-Lago. However, Mar-a-Lago is not for sale. So this is essentially based on tax assessment data. That's it. The current tax assessment has it around $30 million, according to Zillow. I give you this property here. This is 500 Regents Park Road, Palm Beach, Florida. It is a 6,488 square foot, 6-bedroom, 5-bath, beautiful property with a swimming pool. Estimated payment per month, $267,000. Woo! Listed at $40 million. Wow, $40 million. This has got to be massive. I mean, it's worth more than Mar-a-Lago. It's got to be, wait, what? A half acre? That's it. This is a private residence, not a business, and it's a half acre, and it's listed at $40 million. Okay, whoa, hold on. I'm looking at this right here. We've got a $25 million property. Let's pull it up, ladies and gentlemen. This is how many acres? 0.39 acres for $25 million. Okay, what's Mar-a-Lago? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the off-the-market assessments of Mar-a-Lago. It is 17.5 acres. Well, okay, let's do some math. 17.5. So we're saying that a half acre is 40 million. So let's do some math. A full acre would be 80 million. Okay, all right, hold on. I know. It's a half acre with a 6-bedroom, 5-bath. But if we're going just off of acreage, we can go off square footage. Off of acreage, let's say the lot itself going for 40 million minus the home. The lot, the home is not going to be worth that much. Constructing a property like this, a 6,488 square foot property, I got to be honest, that's going to cost you what? Maybe if you're going to do it nice, let's say $1 million. The real value is the beachfront property in Palm Beach. So let's just say 40 million's fair. Half acre. That means an acre is $80 million. That would put the evaluation of the property of Mar-a-Lago close to $1.5 billion. Okay, fine. The property itself, let's just cut it in half. Well, however they want to do the evaluation. There's also diminishing returns and it scales. So let's just cut it in half. All right, let's say this. Let's say a half acre is worth 20 million and the property itself is 20 million. That's probably not fair. The real estate's worth more than that. The lot is actually worth more than that. But, let's just say that. Let's just say for the sake of argument. This means that 1 acre is $40 million. This means that Mar-a-Lago, outside of any revenue generated, is worth close to $1 billion. I mean, let me just go back here and show you. This is Mar-a-Lago. This huge section, it's massive. And the Trumps are saying it's 400 to 600 million. I'm sorry. I think that's a low estimate. I think they undervalued the property. The fact that the judge said it was worth around 18 to 20 million shows the judge is wrong. Now, if the judge is wrong about something as basic as that, with testimony from experts and lenders saying they weren't defrauded, these are normal business practices, shows you the danger of not having a trial and why Kyle this is an insane thing for him to be saying. The fervor and anger he has in defense of a DA stating in a press conference and saying it's law, it's fact, it's done, and a judge banging the gavel. This is absolutely remarkable. I am curious about the Mar-a-Lago Club, the crown jewel of Palm Beach. It's very beautiful, probably very expensive. They've got club, dining, weddings and events, golf, amenities, photo gallery. I'm curious how they deem this a residential property if they're operating a business out of it. I don't know the Palm Beach laws or how this works, whatever. Mar-a-Lago makes $25 million per year. Look, I already broke it down for you, but I have dealt with this with my businesses already, and Kyle does not understand any of this. And, we try to be nice to him when we point out that he didn't know what farms looked like. When he took a picture from a plane and said, I wonder why it looks like that. And it was a photo of farms. And people are like, my guy, those are farms. He didn't know. And I said, but he's a nice guy. He tries. And I respect that. This This is where the danger of ignorance steps in. I am not saying Trump is innocent at all. I'm saying you have to have a trial. I am not saying that Trump isn't inflating the value of his properties. I actually think most companies do this, but based on the valuation of nearby properties, you'd have to arrest every one of these people for fraud. No, I think the reasonable, simple solution here is if the judge says no trial and then claims a 17-acre beach-to-beach property is $18 million when a neighboring half acre is listed at $40 million, the judge will be nice. He's wrong. And if he's wrong, there needed to be a trial. But there wasn't. Why is he sanctioning Trump's lawyers? You can't use these arguments. Sanctioning the lawyers? This is insane. The corporate death penalty to Trump's businesses. The scariest thing, to be completely honest, is the fervent zealotry of that you see from Kyle, who I once deemed to be reasonable, who is totally ignorant, does no research, and has no idea how real estate works or business evaluations work, coming out and justifying rule by decree of the government for no reason. This is what we are up against, my friends. The banality of evil, the anger and the fervor. Kyle has no idea what he's talking about. Mostly, I'm wrong about a lot of it too, which is why I'm saying, let's get a trial and get the experts in. That's the way it should operate. Instead, what we have is ignorant zealotry. Zombie hordes. Angry people who have no idea what they're talking about, marching through the streets, screaming in rage and demanding something be done. The system can't sustain itself. It's crazy what they're doing to Trump. Newsweek has this article, How Much is Mar-a-Lago Worth? Valuation of Trump Property Raises Questions. Let's see what Newsweek has to say. They say in a statement on Truth Social, Trump said this, yada, yada. Elsewhere, he shared listings for other houses on the market in Palm Beach with prices ranging between 38.9 and 59.9 million, despite seemingly far smaller than Mar-a-Lago. Trump Jr.'s Trump's eldest son, joked, if Mar-a-Lago is worth 18 million, I'll take 10, please. Yeah, you'd own 170 acres of West Palm Beach property. A nearby vacant lot of 2.3 acres is on sale for 200 million, according to a Goldman Sachs investment banker. Woo! Wow. He added the primary point is this. The lending bank is required to get a valuation from a third party to cover its LTV calculation. No one had an issue with any of this. Everyone made money until an activist DA came along decades later. 2.3. Wow. Ali Zain Youssef, a software engineer, replied, you're right. If it was priced at the same per acre as the empty lot, it'd be 1.5 billion. That's exactly what I said. There are competing estimates as to the size of the estate. Several publications have said it spans 17 acres, while the club's website says 20 acres. That's like a generic commercial estimation. It may be 20 acres because they may be including. So I'll point this out. Right in front, right here, you have additional properties. I'm not sure if that's connected or not. They may be the lot size as legally documented could be 17.5, but there may be neighboring separate lots that Trump includes as part of the property. Take a look at this tiny sliver right here. What is this? This is appears to be, I think this is an empty lot. What is this? Estimated at $1 million for what is this Zillow has? No data. Okay. Well, I don't know for sure. Let's zoom in here. Ah, yes. The $1 million empty lot, which appears to be like a third of an acre or less. Why? It's on the beach. Now, Mar-a-Lago, they say, is beach to beach. So I'm assuming that this across the street may actually be part of Mar-a-Lago, which is why it does not have a separate assessment. I'm not sure, though. Back at Newsweek, they say, while 27 million is obviously an undervaluation, Mar-a-Lago can't be developed or turned into a single family estate. A financial journalist commented, its deed requires it to remain a club, which radically reduces its resale value. No, it doesn't. I would argue that there is a fair point to be made, for sure. That could be the case. But the fact that it can operate and make money suggests it's worth more than a residential property. They say Zillow gives it a 24.2 million valuation. Zillow erroneously said it was 422. Lawyers for Trump have said they intend to appeal the decision, et cetera, et cetera. My point with the property is just this. Kyle does not understand business evaluations. I just feel like it's so obvious. Okay. Like I've had people come to me and they say, hey, we'd like to buy X of your company or whatever. And I'd be like, this of my company generates X dollars. And they say, we'll give you X. And I'm like, why? For what reason would I sell that to you? It makes money. I'll just sit back and take the money that I already make for myself. Dude, I own the boat. No point in selling you the boat if the boat is what I want. Like, so typically what I tell people is like, listen, Mark Zuckerberg, they wanted to buy Facebook off him. He says, why? He's like, I just make another social media network. What's the point? He's already rich. In order to get someone who's making $25 million in revenue per year to sell the property, you're going to need a 10-year advance. Because then what's being said to me is, listen, 10 years up front right now, and you go live like a king. You even start a new company. Or you keep it, and over the span of 10 years, you make the money. How many cars do you think I can buy? That's why it's like, it might even be 30 years. Depends on the company. Donald Trump is already a billionaire with a 757, or it might be a 37. For what purpose does he need your upfront cash? He doesn't, which means all the surrounding businesses generating this revenue have comparable systems where they say, you're not going to be able to buy this. The demand is high. Supply is non-existent. There's only one Mar-a-Lago. Anyway, man, more importantly, out of all of this in this segment is not for me to just talk about numbers and break the stuff down, because it is fascinating to me. It's to tell you about the judge having no trial and destroying Trump's businesses. Take a look at this. Look at Mar-a-Lago. They put $24.2 million on Zillow. Look at this property right here. It's a third, a sixth of the size of Mar-a-Lago, and it's listed at $56 million. How many acres is this thing? 1.76 acres. That's right. Mar-a-Lago, on its property size alone, without consideration for its multiple tennis courts and parking lot, would be $1.5 billion. And a judge said 18 million. It's a lie. See, what they're doing is they're saying, see, Mar-a-Lago proves it. Trump overvalued his properties in New York. He didn't. They're lying. And you know what? I'll entertain that Trump may have lied for sure. You'd have to have a trial and prove it. If you, what does Tyrion Lannister say? When you cut out a man's tongue, you are not proving him wrong. You are simply proving that you're scared of what he may say. The reason they don't have a trial is because they know if Trump's experts and his partners and lenders showed up and testified under oath, they'd say Trump did everything right and his business is sound. I don't see any other reason why they wouldn't have the trial. Wouldn't it make more sense for the judge to be like, here's a lender from Trump saying he defrauded them? So why not have the trial? Because they're lying. But either way, my opinion is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is this: there was no trial. So if you defend a press conference is enough to warrant the destruction of a real estate company, then you are an authoritarian and you are what we are up against. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.